Welcome back to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Doing great, Drew. Yourself?
I am pretty good. Work's been going well. I'm doing rehab for my back now, so we've got a plan to kind of get me to be more mobile again, effectively, and so I'm excited about that. And we also have football.
Football is back
in a non-XFL format, so I'm pretty excited.
Get this microphone over here. Sorry, man, not ready.
You started the stream at 5:30 p.m. and so you've only had an hour and 26 minutes to get it ready. So
yeah,
these are the things.
I mean, I took last week off to do some fishing. Trip was great, by the way.
Yeah, great. Really
it was hotter than balls, though. It was
sure, northern Canada.
Degrees, yeah. 85 degrees, not a cloud in sight. There was no wind. Could not hide from the heat. The fishing was not particularly great, but just being an hour away from the next human being, relaxing, was pretty awesome. So glad to be back this week, though. Didn't mean to ditch you. You did a predictions episode last week.
We were remarkably close in our predictions.
Excellent. Well, we'll see how they are at the end of the season.
Oh, that would be great.
So let's go with. So today we'll start with the news and notes throughout the NFL. We'll talk about some of the Lions roster moves. We'll talk about the first preseason game because football actually happened, like real football. Not OTAs, not practices, like an actual game, even though it doesn't count. So, what do we got? News and notes around the NFL.
There are some news and notes. In our ongoing off-season examination of running backs and their market, we did have two sign this week. We had Ezekiel Elliott signed for, I believe, $6 million with the Patriots, reported $6 million. And I believe that Dalvin Cook signed for a contract up to $8.6 million with the Jets. Yep. Fun fact, for running backs who switch teams in the offseason, the New York Jets are now responsible for the two largest contracts for running backs in the history of the NFL. Dalvin Cook, whatever his contract turns out to be, and then Le'Veon Bell when he went from the Steelers to the Jets. So they love.
So the largest free agent acquisition.
Free agent signings, and they had to change teams. So like if someone played for San Francisco and re-signed, those don't count. But like if you switch teams, the Jets are willing to pay through the ass in order to get them running.
Well, it seems to work really well for them.
Yeah. They're a powerhouse franchise. So someone called their offense elite today on Twitter, and I thought, okay.
We'll see.
Anthony Richardson has been named.
Potential.
He does have some potential. Anthony Richardson has been named the Colts starting quarterback, which I agree with. I don't think there's any benefit to him sitting and learning from Gardner Minshew. So take your lumps, get him out on the field. Here's something I've been wondering though.
Yeah.
If say you're Quentin Nelson.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is Mark with a new name or if this is a guy that has co-opted Mark's saying. It's not really Mark's saying, but Mark says it in our chat a lot. Donkey Kong, Super Bowl or bust. Dudes. Hey, Donkey Kong. How are you?
Welcome.
Like a guy like Quentin Nelson or like Michael Pittman or anybody else that's not the quarterback on the team, how do you think they feel about this guy having to go out there and basically be like, well, get better?
I don't really know what I'm doing yet. I'm pretty raw.
It is Mark. I don't know how someone changes their name in the chat. That's interesting. But yeah, what facilitated the change, Mark? You even changed your profile picture. What is that? It's a dog in a blanket on a couch. That's what it is. Okay. Cute dog. Is that a Chihuahua?
Chihuahua?
If it is, my cousin who lives in Chicago has had a Chihuahua for like 16 years. The thing absolutely hated any man. Loved women.
Yeah.
You could be a dangerous, strange woman, come into the house, the thing will come up and like want your attention. And then
just like me.
Yeah, a man that's been in the house 1,000 times, it'll be like, and be like, and I'm like, okay, Linus, you're a boy, like you're kind of, not representing.
And your name is Linus, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Don got me into trolling foes. So since I like to troll Green Bay the most, and I live in Green Bay. You live in Green Bay and have a business in Green Bay. I don't want my real name on chats. Thanks to Don getting me hooked on trolling. Oh, Don. Not one of his finer qualities, unfortunately. Love him.
Well, at least we know who it is now, and but we can Super Bowl or bust with Donkey Kong.
He does like to troll. So that's bold of you, Mark, to live in Green Bay, work in Green Bay, troll in Green Bay. Bold move.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dalvin Cook is going to be in New York, and Breece Hall was just activated off of the PUP list. So they're going to have an interesting backfield.
So when I think about what the Jets are doing, the only thing I can really think is they just activated him from PUP. So they must think that his knee is okay enough to play right away.
Right.
But is his knee okay to play right away, but he's not 100% back? And so you want Dalvin for a month, 6 weeks to carry the load until Breece is ready to reassume the title? Because otherwise, this just doesn't make any sense. Hey, Zakwa.
What's up, Zakwa? So my thought, when I saw that Dalvin signed at the Jets, I'm thinking to myself, why? It's not like Breece Hall is bad. He's a very good running back. So are you essentially using Dalvin Cook to handle some of the carries and the bumps and the bruises and just lightening the load on Breece Hall to let him actually last through his rookie contract before they let him go for a different rookie? Like, are they just trying to extend his ability to play out his rookie contract, which is weird to spend $8.6 million to do that for someone that's making rookie contract deals. So I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
So when I think about that, my first thought is if I had a running back, I think Breece Hall was a second or third round pick. So he's not first round money. If I had that guy on contract, I would just feed him the ball as if there were no other running backs and use every carry that I could get out of him. Of course, this is me talking about him like a player on Madden, not like a human being. That needs to be stated. So, but I would get every carry out of Breece Hall by the time he's 25 that I could possibly get. And I sure as hell don't want to pay $8 million to how many carries do you think that Dalvin Cook is going to take away from Breece? I mean,
a third to half?
Yeah.
Maybe so more. Do you pay a guy $8.6 million not to be your number one guy?
I would think not. I would think that Dalvin Cook is going to be the lead back come game 1 in September. And that confuses me.
And presumably through the entire season.
Presumably, yeah. So that's why I thought maybe Breece is good, healed up enough not to be on PUP, not healthy enough to be the lead back. And so you're still wanting to maybe buy some time, but almost $9 million or whatever the contract ends up being, like, is still, I think, too much for that either way. Anyways, it's the Jets. They're probably just saying to themselves, he's available. We brought him in for a visit. We want to challenge.
We've got cap room. What the heck?
Right. Aaron just gave back $34 million.
Yeah.
For exactly this type of thing that they want to add guys, because like Aaron's not about next year, right? Aaron wants this year.
Yep.
So, and I imagine that Dalvin Cook wants the same thing, and everybody else in the Jets organization wants it. Like, remember, this is like what, year 3 or 4 of Robert Saleh? I don't know if he came in at the same time as Campbell. I think so, right?
I think so.
Because
yeah.
That was the bugaboo around Detroit Lions media, was that Robert Saleh either started his career in Detroit or was from Michigan. Good job. Thanks for letting me know, Joey. Excellent. I'm happy about that. Yeah, and so there we go. Now it's official. It's in print. So
can't take it back.
Can't take it back now, but I think that they're just all chips are in the middle, and I think they're going to end up spending all their available cap room by the trade deadline to facilitate getting as far as they can possibly get. And it's not an easy division. Like, I think that the worst team in the division is the Patriots, and I think they're probably around a 500 team. And then I think you've got the Dolphins and the Bills on top of that, and the Bills are real threats to end up in the conference championship game, if not the Super Bowl. So you gotta make up some ground, and like, this is one way they can make up a little bit of ground. Yeah, I still don't like it, but like, if it works out for them, cool.
Yeah. Well, I think they're trying to do the all-in thing that the Rams did, but with a far worse roster, top to bottom.
Cannot wait. That's an excellent thing to do. Great job, Bills or Jets. Jets are one of my least favorite franchises in the NFL. I can't stand them.
My least favorite include the Jets, the Patriots, the Cowboys, and of course every team in the NFC North.
Sure.
Just as a matter of, that just needs to happen.
Sure.
Other quick hits around the league. Hawkinson has an ear infection, so he can't be at camp. So
thank Christ.
His unexplained absence has now been explained. Here's one I thought was really interesting. Did you hear about what was going on with Michael Oher?
I did.
The Blindside of Blindside fame. He is suing the Tuohys, the people that adopted him.
Yeah.
Because apparently they didn't adopt him properly or something. And then is trying to end their conservatorship over him.
So I
guess he never saw a penny of the movie, the stuff from the movie. I don't know what all this is true, but I'm just like, this is all crazy. Talking about getting a Blindside.
Yeah, no kidding.
Blindside 2, the aftermath.
The actual Blindside, yeah. So here's my thing about this. So like, the fact that they have a conservatorship over him now that he's a legal adult, to me, is unbelievable.
It's like Free Britney, right?
So like, with
she
her
did for years too.
Right. So with her, she had, or her parents or whomever it was, had her declared like mentally unfit for a minute to oversee her own affairs. And so they, quote unquote, stepped in to help her, right? That's what a conservatorship's supposed to do. It's supposed to allow someone who's capable to help someone who may not be. But what is the situation with Michael Oher? Like, they signed this thing when he was like 16 years old. How could they possibly have conservatorship over an illegal adult who is like physically and mentally capable of running his own life? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it.
It looks like he filed a petition in a Tennessee probate court accusing Sean and Leanne Tuohy of lying to him by having him sign papers making them his conservators rather than his adoptive parents nearly 2 decades ago. So with that, it just, I mean, until the paperwork is undone, I believe it's just there.
Yeah.
So he asked for the conservatorship to be terminated, along with asking for a full accounting of the money earned off of the use of his name and story. He also asked to be paid what is due, along with interest. He's never been a fan of the movie of his life, and asked the petition that the Tuohys be sanctioned and required to pay both compensatory and punitive damages determined by the court. So the thing that I'm wondering about is, why now?
Sure.
Why not right after the movie came out, when he's like, it wasn't quite like that. I mean, he said that from the start, like, it didn't quite go like that, but, whatever, it's a movie, artistic license and all. But that was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I'm just curious, like, what brought this on now? Yeah. I just wonder what brought this on now.
So here's my thing. I don't care when it happens. Like, if what he is saying about the situation is 100% true,
yeah,
then it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter when it occurred. So, like, if they did to him what he alleges, then whether it's the day after he turns 18 or 10 years after he turns 18 or whatever the hell, however long it is, they're still wrong and owe him money. And then the courts can figure out what that dollar amount is. I don't care, but they're clearly in the wrong. Now, if I don't know what the truth is, because I wasn't privy to it. So it's probably somewhere between what both sides are saying. So I don't know. I don't care. They both have lots of money. So, I mean, this was not some broke Midwestern family that had, like, 5 kids living in a 1-bedroom house that took them in. Like, they own Taco Bell franchises and come from, like, then have money.
Yeah.
So, like, the movie certainly makes them out to be saints on what they did for Michael Oher, right? And, like, he certainly benefited from them, whether it was a conservatorship or adoption or whatever it was. Like, he was able to have a platform to play football. He was able to get into, like, Ole Miss. He made it to the NFL. He played in the NFL. He had an opportunity. And, like, because of that, I'm sure that he will have opportunities to do other things with football in his life. Talk about it, announce it, coach it, whatever it is. So he's benefited from them as well. I just don't know how much that is.
Yeah.
And to be honest, to me, this is 2 rich people arguing about who owes who money. So I don't give a shit.
Yeah. It looks like he said that he only learned in February that the Tuohys remained as conservators. I'm reading an NFL.com article.
Sure.
He accuses them of never trying to take legal action to assume custody from the Tennessee Department of Human Services before he turned 18. And the conservatorship paper was filed August 4th, 2004, after he turned 18 in that year. So, yeah, interesting. It was one of those things where the story just is like, where did this come from? Kind of out there. But I'll be curious to see how it, like you, I don't care how it goes, but I'm still kind of curious.
Oh, right? Sure. When the Manti Te'o thing broke all those years ago, I literally could not stop. I could not tear myself away from the television. Like, I was at work and just blatantly on ESPN, like, refreshing the page, trying to figure out, and, like, I was on my phone, like, getting on, like, creating a Twitter account so I could follow what was going on in real time. And people were like, Drew, what are you doing? You got to be working. And I'm like, I actually remember talking to my supervisor and been like, I'm sorry. I understand that what you're saying is correct and I need to change. I'm telling you, I can't turn away from this.
I am unable to do this.
I had never heard of catfishing. I hated Manti Te'o because he went to Notre Dame and he was good. And, like, it was just so bizarre. It was the most bizarre thing I had ever heard.
Remember OJ in the Bronco chase, right?
my big complaint about that, because like when that was like 1992 or believe 93, so I was like 10 or 11 years old,
Probably around there. Yeah.
and what I remember about that is they took they cut away from what I was watching on TV, which happened to be Rockets and Spurs, I believe, in like the NBA conference finals or the NBA championship or whatever. And I was so into basketball when I was 10 to go watch this fucking white Bronco speed down the highway and just watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
it
was
didn't
like,
even speed. It was
this
going
is
like
not
30
news.
miles an hour on a 7-lane highway.
Yeah. The news is what you cut away from. I need to see if Sam Cassell got back in the game. Let's go. You know, like
June
ridiculous.
17th, 94 for that one.
94? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a junior in high school at that time because I'm old. One other thing on the news and notes around the NFL, not sure if you saw, former Seahawks and Ravens running back Alex Collins died as a result of a motorcycle crash, 28 years old.
That's sad. I have a friend whose brother recently hit a deer on a motorcycle and broke his collarbone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That he is lucky it's just that.
It's Alan's brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's lucky that it's just a collarbone hitting a deer on a motorcycle.
He had all his gear on. He had like the helmet and the jacket that you're supposed to wear and like the pads. But like he works in Grand Rapids, so it's about an hour drive. So he was going to his job in the morning, and he loves motorcycles. He's just a motorcycle enthusiast. And so he's just going up, and he said he looked up and there's just a deer in the road, and he just T-boned the deer.
Oh God.
And it was just flipped over the handlebars.
Can't imagine. That must have been scary as hell.
Oh, I hear that breaking a collarbone is right up there with like the most painful injuries that you can have. It's like kidney stone, getting shot in the stomach, collarbone. So
where's giving birth in that?
It's number one. It's at the top of the list.
Yeah, it's at the top.
You'll never catch me saying anything hurts more than that. So, yeah. So there's fun. So in honor of back to school time, because I'm going back to school to finish my degree. Peyton Manning is also going back to school. Did you see that? I did. He's going to be a
professor at Tennessee.
Of what?
Appointed professor of practice at the College of Communication and Information. So he launched Omaha Productions and Entertainment Company earlier this year. He's going to join classes during the year as a featured expert. So, Professor Manning.
He's not holding office hours though. Like I doubt.
I would assume not.
He's not going to be sitting being like, "Oh, okay. If you guys have questions, I'm in my office. Oh, it's just an autograph session. Okay, cool. You know." So, but good for him.
Me and my forehead are going to be in office number 202.
Can you imagine how busy that dude is?
No, I mean, you always see him in commercials on TV, getting interviewed.
His fucking Monday Night Football show or whatever. Like,
oh God, yes, that's
literally that show is. I thought, like, for a second, like that show's going to redefine how people are going to broadcast football, because
you just have the you have to have the permission to do it from the NFL. Otherwise, guys like you and I would do it.
Right.
We just we can't pay for the permission.
But do you remember how horrible like the Amazon thing worked out for them last year with all the terrible matchups?
I thought it was fantastic. You got your national play-by-play. You had I think they had a Spanish language version of it as well. And then I don't know if you saw the other, because you got different broadcast. It was the same broadcast, but you had different like feeds of it. And one of them was the Next Gen Stats feed. And it was fucking amazing. Like it would
it on Amazon?
Yeah, on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
That was great. The problem with Prime last year was all the games they picked were just straight garbage.
That's correct.
That was the problem. It wasn't anything about I thought the production was fantastic.
But if I was Amazon,
being able to like watch live, like real time Next Gen Stats, and like it was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
I'm really happy for you. But if I was Amazon, I would be going because I only have one day a week that I can show NFL football live, right?
Yep.
I would be going to the NFL to get this kind of permission and try and put some kind of personalities together because you're right. The matchups were terrible and that's not their fault, but it all happened to them. So, like, a lot of people's experiences, Amazon year one was like, that's not very good. I didn't like that very much. This was not.
They did have a stream. One of the broadcast options was a group of 3 or 4 guys. Well, now, granted, I only saw that one once, and I just like, this isn't for me. But it was similar to that. It was like a group of 3 or 4 guys. I have no idea who they were. I'm assuming they were YouTube stars or, I don't know, TikTokers or some shit. Things that I don't do. But they did have something like that. But yeah, they should pull in the Mannings for that feed.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, you do Monday, you do Thursday too. Bring it.
We'll pay you more. We're Amazon, you know. What we have more money than most countries on earth. You know?
Yeah, I've got a checkbook. So what numbers do you want me to write down to make this happen?
Yeah, because we want this platform to be successful, right?
The guy that built us has his own rocket. He's been to space. Like, we can really pay just about whatever you want.
You know, like, Amazon might be 10 years from now the organization that shows the most football. Like,
I mean,
they have, if they decide that that's something worth their time, like, they have so much money, and like, what could possibly happen to their business model? Like, I never thought anything would happen to like ESPN, Disney. They were just going to be titans of whatever their respected industries were forever. Well, Disney's had some setbacks. ESPN laid off a ton of people, presumably to save money, and want to go in a different direction now, you know, or whatever. And so, like, that's at least a transition. Like, that's not going to be the exact same thing. Like, if I was Amazon, I would be like, if we really want to put money into this, we can play with the big boys in 3-5 years or whatever it is. The next time I think that's
what they're trying to do. Is they're getting their foot in the door with Thursday Night Football. I think it's 1 or 2 fewer games because I think they only have 15 games. So I don't know if it's like week 1 and 2 they don't have a game, or I know Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday and it's not obviously Thursday Night Football. But I think that's their end goal.
Yeah, I'd agree. So,
and as let's talk about people stream and cut the cord, it'll be easier for them to do that and bring more people in.
Well, let's focus on the Lions.
All right, let's do that. So preseason, week 1. We won.
Hooray.
You can't win them all if you don't win the first.
That's a good point. So they did. They beat the Giants. It's becoming a regular thing for us. I'm happy about
beating the Giants or just winning in general.
Well, both, but like beating the Giants is where I was going with it. Because that was like the Aleem McNeil coming out game last year. Like, he just lived in their backfield. I thought it was. I could look it up, I guess, but like, they did a really, really good job against the Giants. And the Giants, you know, were a playoff team. No one can take that away from them. But a lot of people thought they, like the Vikings, were kind of like pretenders that got in, you know, but they won a bunch of games, you know, so there's that, I suppose. But yeah, we won. And the defense looked really good.
Yep. Offense looked okay. If you weren't paying attention to the quarterback play.
So Sudfeld threw a couple interceptions.
It's like I turned the game on. I'm like, oh, okay. First play. And it's intercepted. Oh, this is going to be a long day.
Right. I don't know that I care much about how Sudfeld played, to be honest. Like, the Teddy Bridgewater rumor to Detroit had been going on for several weeks. Hendon Hooker is on the roster and is going to start on the NFI list. And see, Funky's got it. Funky figured out the formula. But I cared that no one got hurt. And then what do you look like when you're on the field? And like the defense looked to me really good. And the offense didn't look as good, but like it's not Goff out there. And Teddy Bridgewater hadn't been signed yet. And Hooker's injured. So it was Sudfeld and is it Adrian Martinez?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah. And to be honest, Martinez looked, I thought, pretty good. Like I think he's a rookie. And yeah, I was actually looking at the exact same thing. But bigger.
There we go.
No, bigger. Can you not do? I'll share my screen and make it bigger if you want me to do that.
I mean, I can't. Well, but then let's see.
There
we go.
Alex,
there we go. Is that better?
That's much better.
All right.
I can read their names.
So Chase Cota, our wide receiver, was our highest graded player. But
so what I like about this was that he has the highest score and played a really healthy number of snaps. So it's not like 10 snaps and you're a 90, you know?
Yeah.
So he played a good game. I don't think he'll make the roster, but I think that he played a good game. Okay.
Yeah, sorted by total snaps. So I did find this interesting. And I knew that they said that they were going to be playing JMO a lot in the all 3 preseason games, get a ton of snaps, get a bunch of reps in. Now his score wasn't particularly great, although he was killer at pass blocking for a wide receiver. But I did like the fact that he's getting a lot of reps in.
So I think one big thing that detracted from his score is that I believe it was him. He had a ball that I think it was Sudfeld put in his hands, and he just dropped it. You know,
it would have been a touchdown too.
Yeah. So like he had a half step on the guy or whatever, but I think the defender was pretty close. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if he catches it and goes down, but like it would have been inside the 10. And he just short armed it. He just alligator armed it for whatever reason. And I did not like seeing that, but you got to remember this guy hasn't been on. This is the highest level of play this guy's had in about a year and a half.
Yeah.
You know,
he started pulling it in right before the ball got there. If he waits a half a second longer, it lands in his mitts.
Right. So one small mistake, he'll work on that because you don't want that to happen too often during the season. But
yeah.
So like I thought that the list of people who played well here was kind of interesting. Linemen, that's good. A couple of tight ends, that's good. Martinez, that's good. But all in all, I mean, I don't consider this like elite for the offense or anything. But once again, the preseason, it doesn't need to be. And it's about playing, making mistakes, development, learning, all that, and not getting hurt. So
and identifying the guys that are going to be our depth guys.
Exactly.
I mean, almost none of the starters, predicted starters, played outside of Jameson Williams, who needed reps. But like, I thought it was good to see James Mitchell play well because, we need him to play well. We need to have more than just.
That's true.
Oh my God, Laporte.
Laporta.
Who is the guy we just drafted? So Laporta, because was it Zylstra that got hurt?
Zylstra has been injured and I believe cut with like an injury designation.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but if they get first crack at him when he becomes eligible, like medically cleared or whatever. But
Gibbs' score wasn't particularly high, 52.7. Kabinda, I'm just still dumbfounded that he's on the roster.
I think it's got to be for special teams. It's got to be.
It has to, yeah. And then the occasional rush that just happens every so often.
Right. You know, like he's going to touch the ball maybe 4 times a game. You know, but per PFF, the Lions had the number 1 rated special teams unit in the league last year. He's a part of that. So, LA drop. He's got
100% drop rate.
Who? La drop.
Laporta.
Does he drop all sorry, he's got 100% drop rate. Does he?
Does he have any catches?
Let's find him.
Boy, he can pass lock like a mofo, though.
Sure.
Snap counts, grades. These are all grades, not actual full stats.
Sure. Scroll down. Okay, or don't.
I mean, this is the bottom of it.
That's the whole thing.
There's one game in this season.
That's a good point. So he was in for, I don't know, 15, 16 snap, 1 target, 1 drop. It's a relatively small sample size, Funky. Let's but I mean,
it's like right Jameson Williams. When he catches that ball, it's always a touchdown, right?
Right. So
yeah, 1 catch, 1 touchdown last year.
Right now it's 100%. So
yeah.
You know, and if I was like Mark, right, and just trolling people for the fun of it, I would be like, oh guys, see, this is what happens when you draft a tight end at the top of round 2 over a better tight end. But this is where I think the Lions really, really did well. And the thing that I think offers the most hope for the oncoming season, the defense played really well.
Yeah. Especially the young guys, the guys that are like Onwuzurike isn't a young guy. I mean, he's not a grizzled veteran, but he's also not a rookie. But he's coming back from injury.
Right.
So to see him come out and play at an elite level, see Jack Campbell in his first action as a pro come out and play at an elite level. Comiskey, I mean, we need depth on the edge. I'm going to be really interested to see what our edge rushing roster looks like. Obviously, Hutch is going to be on there. Houston will be on there. But everything outside of that, you're looking at the 2 Okora brothers. You got Comiskey. So I think that's going to be a really interesting fight. And Comiskey played really, really well. Julian Okwara played really well. Yeah. Romeo, not bad. I mean, 69.3 is a good starter level.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's above average. I mean, so for sure.
We weren't seeing this many greens and blues throughout most of the season last year.
Yeah, exactly. Here, do me a favor. Can you scroll down to the bottom and find out who that bottom player is?
Did you know that?
Will Harris. Oh, Will
Did
Harris.
you know that, or are you setting this up?
I might have looked at it before we went on air. But, like, somehow Will Harris ended up as the worst player on defense. Holy shit. I'm glad I was sitting down when I read it at work.
Yeah, and Chase Luke is right behind him.
Yeah, which is a bummer because I think Chase is trying to make the squad. But Will Harris, I'm sorry. Like, he's just fundamentally not a great football player. Might be a guy that you can have a beer with or whatever. Not a great football player. So one guy that I'd like to be on the team is Brandon Joseph. I don't think he's going to make the team.
Really?
No.
He's going to be one of those bubble guys, right?
Well, I don't think so. But, like, so if he's going to make the team, it's going to be on special teams because you have Walker and Joseph, and those are probably your starting safeties. And then you've got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who can play safety, and he's your nickel. And then you've got Brian Branch. So you have technically 4 safeties on the roster, and that's usually what you carry, 4 or 5 safeties.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's going to be like, what is it CJ Moore? Is he still on the roster? Because it doesn't look like it. But like,
well, what position did he play?
He's a safety.
Okay, yeah, I don't see him.
Like, I would rather keep Brandon Joseph than say Brady Breeze, who's been a practice squad, bottom of the roster kind of guy player for us for a couple of years, or Savion Smith, or what's going on with my phone?
So, Melifonwu, just
to be honest, like he might be a practice squad guy. Oh, that's right. Funky is on point. He said Moore was a year-long gambling suspension, and we cut him.
Yep.
Tip of the cap, Funky.
Yep.
Well done. But like Brandon Joseph, the scuttlebutt about him and like scouting circles that I heard coming out of, he came out of Notre Dame, but he played most of his career at Northwestern, is like on the field, this guy is like a genius level IQ about football. He's like brilliant.
Yeah.
And so like
the Cooper Cup of safeties,
yes, basically, and like I love intelligence. Like some of my favorite characters are like Sherlock Holmes, like that kind of thing. But like I have a great respect for intelligence, and like I just feel like I would rather take a chance on a guy like that who's gonna know what the offense is doing, how to get guys lined up, understand where the play's going, and maybe he's not the fastest or something like that, but he's always there because he gets that immediate jump or whatever on the play. Whereas somebody that like, so like Christian Gonzalez was a cornerback coming out of Oregon that I was like, oh, maybe the Lions should take Christian Gonzalez. And like, he's a blazer, right? And if he messes up and takes one step in the wrong direction, he's got the speed to come back and catch up. And a lot of people really value that particular talent. I like the guy that's like, well, I need to start running in that direction, and I got to start right now because otherwise I'm not going to get there, in time. Yeah. So,
the Wayne Gretzky thing. I'm not going to go where the puck is. I'm going to go where the puck's going to be.
Right, exactly. And then I was really happy that Levi Onwuzurike got 20 plus snaps and played as well as he did. And to be honest, if this upcoming season he's a 20 snap a game player, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Now I don't know that you keep a guy on the roster who was a second round pick as a 20 snap a game player, but this year in particular on the interior, yes, fine, great. Could have had Jalen Carter. Just want to bring that up again.
So this is the grades that I was really interested in because again, I think the pass rush crew is going to be some of the biggest challenges for who do we cut, who do we keep, and I think Okwara, if he can keep this up, he'll make the team, but he needs to keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's up there. Reeves-Maybin, I was a little bit surprised actually. He's going to probably make the team just because he's also a really good special teamer.
Yep.
I was happy to see Malcolm Rodriguez do. I mean, granted, he only had 2 pass rush plays, but like he did well there. Look at Reeves-Maybin's win rate. He had a 66.7% win rate.
Okay.
Romeo Okwara had 24%.
How did he? Where am I looking here?
Romeo had a 24% win rate, although he did have a lot more pass rushes. 100% of his plays on the when they passed were pass rushes.
Gotcha. So the only person there that I'm interested in is James Houston. I mean, Julian Okwara, fine, but like to me, the roster is outpacing his talent level. Like, if he makes the roster, I think it's his last year on it.
Unless he takes a big step, he's got to keep.
Sure.
He's got to keep taking big steps.
What year is this for him in the NFL? Like 5th? Is that too many? Third round,
draft year 2020.
2020. So 20, 21, 22, so fourth. This will be year 4, right?
Yeah, year 4.
So his contract's probably up, at
the end of this year.
At the end of the season.
Yeah.
And like, cool. But because this is the kind of guy that I think that you have to turn over when you want to keep rookies that you're drafting on the roster.
Or you keep him for that low-paid depth guy.
Sure.
Like we talked about, how you can't have all of your players be top 10, right? You have to have some of that roster. There's just not enough money to go around. So you need some of those depth guys that you can count on to do something, but at a low salary level. And I think he might be one of those guys that we keep around at a low, not like league minimum, but like not $10 to $20 million or more, right? He might be a $5 million a year guy, 3 to 5.
To me, he's the kind of guy that was like, hey, thank you for your first contract. Now we drafted some dude in the third round, and we're going to give your spot to this guy who's going to be on the team for 4 years at what you were just making, which is even better because the cap has gone up since we had you. So, so Funky just said, if he keeps doing well, he might be worth a trade before the cuts, and like, I think that should be explored. Like, if you can pick up a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, or maybe you want to try out another player or something, and you make like a player for player deal. Yeah, fine. That's all. That's fine with me. Yeah. But like, I think that Julian Okwara is this is the ceiling of him, is that he's gonna do really well in the preseason, and be the 5th or 6th option at edge rusher, in the regular season. So
yeah,
it's not that I dislike him or anything. I just don't think I mean, Aiden's clearly the first. James Houston is carving out a role for himself, probably in clear pass rush situations. And then where are you going to play guys like Kaminsky? Where are you going to play guys like Pascal? That you have a greater investment in. And so like, I don't want to sign Okwara to a $5 million a year deal for however long, when I can spec on some edge rusher in the 3rd or 4th round and say he's going to play as much as Julian Okwara. We have him for 4 times the length of the contract, and I save a little money and I have a roster spot available to develop some new guy. Thanks for your service, but we're going to let you explore free agency.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the preseason goes on the offensive side of the board. Let's look specifically at our rushing. Adrian Martinez, a quarterback. So Benny Snell, Ozigbo, even Sudfeld, like Gibbs and Ibrahim are at the bottom of the list there. But they only had Gibbs had 6 snaps, Ibrahim had 4. So it's not much.
With Justin Jackson surprisingly retiring last week during camp, I don't know who the 3rd running back on this roster is, but I wouldn't mind rolling. I wouldn't mind rolling with Ibrahim, to be honest. Like, he's built like an absolute truck. Now, Joey would say, because Joey and I had a fight about him in a PFF chat after the college football season, but like, he has had knee injuries. He had a ton of carries at Minnesota, so there's not a ton of tread on those tires. So okay,
wear and tear.
So a year or 2 of him as your 3rd running back. Nah, I don't care. That seems fine. But like,
I wouldn't be opposed to giving Jermar Jefferson another shot. He was a 6th, 7th rounder, but I want to say he was like the D2. If I'm thinking of the right guy, like the D2 leading rusher of the year he was drafted, set the D2 record or something along those lines. Dude was great.
Yeah. So, to be honest, I don't really care who the third running back is. So,
we just hope to never have to use them.
yeah, exactly. Jefferson, Ibrahim, whatever. Ibrahim is my kind of running back. So that's fine. So whatever they do is fine. I'm not going to get mad either way. So, but yeah, I thought they played well. Okay, picture a 3-4 scheme: Kaminsky, Pascal, It is. Are they playing a 3-4? I know they want to be scheme flexible, right? So the lineup that you just recommended could certainly happen. Harris and them at the Jack Sam role. Which Harris? Charles Harris? Because if you mean Will Harris, you're out of the chat.
Yeah, I'll put him. There's a way I can put him in timeout, Drew.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see what he says.
There will be no supporting Will Harris in this chat. So I'm just going to go with Charles Harris for funky.
Yeah.
On that one. But yes, that could certainly be. Okay, good.
All right, you're allowed.
He probably meant Will, and then when we got mad, he switched.
Yeah, he was afraid of going into timeout. It's like I haven't had
to want to do timeout.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that in a lot of years. I do that to my kids.
Yeah, we don't want to be parents on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious to see how the next game rolls.
Right. Will Laporta get a catch?
Yeah, will Laporta get a catch? I mean, he was great as a pass blocker, but that's not why we drafted him in the second round.
To be honest, if Sam Laporta is going to be in there blocking, I really have a hard time. I have a hard time with it.
With the pick?
Yeah. So and
I don't think that's going to be his role.
No, right? I don't think so either. And it'll be a minuscule one at best.
He was blocking on less than 43.8% of his snaps.
So I know that Michael Mayer is not as athletic as Sam Laporta. That's not in contention. But he's pretty good at everything a tight end could be asked to do. So and since he was just sitting there at the top of the round in the second round, and then Las Vegas trades up to get him right after we pass him, I was like,
those are shot.
The whole thing was confusing to me. So anyways, Sam Laporta had better catch the ball this season. I'm the guy begging for Will Gibson.
6'3", 245 with 4.59 speed. I mean, he's got the tools.
Go see I'm not trying to make a comparison here, but will you look up Travis Kelce and see what his height, weight, speed is?
6'5", 250, no speed.
Interesting.
So about the same.
Yeah.
A little bit taller, 2 inches taller. A little bit heavier.
So
he did not play in the preseason. Did he really?
Some team,
five offensive snaps. Jesus.
I think it's very interesting the way that some teams approach the preseason now that we're at 3 games. Like the Lions are like, sorry, Jared Goff, you're just not doing it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so he probably played 1 series,
Yeah, 6 offensive snaps.
So, Mike, I've got one more.
Wow.
I've got 1 or 2 more things to do before we go today. So,
all right, let's do it. Let's talk.
Okay, so ESPN, in the palm of my hand, I have a list. ESPN had a group of NFL media personnel, people, vote on the different aspects of quarterback play in the NFL. And they all voted. And then they tallied the votes and ranked the quarterbacks based upon what these people felt, how the quarterbacks in the NFL should be ranked in each of these different categories. And so what I don't want to talk about is the quarterbacks that were ranked there in each one. You can probably guess the ones that are at the top of each category. What I want to talk about is how people in the NFL view Jared Goff. Not because I dislike Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a great season last year. Sounds like he's a hell of a dude. His fiance is an absolute 10. So the dude's got some stuff pointed in the right direction. Good job, Jared Goff. But I just wanted, I think that there is a difference between the accumulation of stats and how well you play the game. So I want to try and explore that difference as much as I possibly can. And I think this brought up some good talking points about how other people who pay attention to the NFL view Jared Goff. So the way that it works is that they listed 10 people, 10 quarterbacks per topic, and then anybody else who got a vote to be in the list. So we're going to start off with arm strength. I don't think that Jared Goff has a very strong arm. Okay. He did not get a vote for in the arm strength category at all. No one that was asked to voted said that Jared Goff had an arm that ranked in the top 10 of the NFL, right? I don't think that's a departure.
Do you have who's in those? I'm just kind of curious on that one.
Yes, I can look it up if you vamp for a minute, Mike.
Yes. Vamp, huh?
Vamp.
You don't have to do all of them, but that is one of those that I've always wondered, which people are or which players have this. They got a strong arm, but they suck. And Jamarcus Russell, dude could throw 80 yards on his knees, but he wouldn't be in the top 10 in any other category. So I'm kind of curious if you had any of those kind of guys in there.
So first of all, I have a complaint about this list. When we're done, here's 1 through 10. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, okay. Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, who hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL yet. Jalen Hurts, then Matthew Stafford. I want to come back to that. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray round out the top 10. Matthew Stafford should be 4th on this list at the worst.
Yeah, I agree.
Matthew Stafford could throw a football and people should base laser technology on it. Matthew Stafford is an absolute hoss when it comes to throwing the football. Aaron Rodgers, he might have a very good arm. It's not Stafford's arm.
What people think about when they think of Aaron Rodgers is he has so many fucking Hail Marys that end up working out. And they're like, oh, he threw it 65 yards. Well, he also took a running start, shot it way up in the air, and got lucky. Several of those other guys would be able to throw much further if they were just going to throw it as far as they possibly could. Sure. But I think that's why he gets and because it's Aaron Rodgers and
he's an MVP. Yeah. So the next category is accuracy. He was not in the top 10. He did get 1 vote. He got at least 1 vote. Touch, he was ranked 10th in the NFL for touch. Mechanics, he was tied for 10th with Matthew Stafford. Once again, Matthew Stafford too low. Field vision,
I love hearing that, by the way, and I'm shocked.
Well, it's not that I dislike Matthew Stafford. It's that I feel like I'm realistic about Matthew Stafford, and that if you ever met Matthew Stafford, you would break down and cry. So
I would not.
Field vision, he got at least 1 vote, and then one of the people who voted felt that he was snubbed. So I thought I would add that in because at least one person thought that he was getting unfairly rated low. Decision making, he came in 6th in the NFL.
Interesting, considering the number of turnovers he's had throughout his career.
Well, so here's my thing. What Ben Johnson did with him, especially over the last half of last season, was to take away the things that he's not very good at. And
decision making being one of them.
Pretty much. I mean,
in my humble opinion,
this is the thing that Kyle Shanahan is renowned for, right? As a coach, he's a genius level offensive mind. He cuts the field in half, and he gives a quarterback, like, you are looking at this thing, this level, this level, this level, figure out which one you want to throw to and do it. Like, he limits the things that a quarterback has to think about down to a level that it can just be reaction. I mean, like, why is everyone not doing that? Anyways, toughness, no votes. Pocket pressure, pocket presence, he got at least 1 vote. Rushing ability, any guesses? No votes.
Snubbed. No snubbed votes.
Yeah. And his, like, second reaction ability, which is apparently, like, if the play breaks down, like, how are you going to figure out, like, what to do with the ball? No votes. So, like, did the dude have amazing stats last year? Yes. The Lions had an amazing second half of the season, in large part due to Jared Goff. I still don't think that he's a very good quarterback.
I agree. I think he is the guy that can be anywhere between 12 and 24.
Right.
Depending on how everybody else around him plays.
I think that's the absolute key, is the other 52 dudes on the roster are getting better. That's improving Jared's ability to do well.
Yeah.
Or, as what's known in the football circles, Dak Prescott syndrome. So,
is that also Tony Romo syndrome before Dak Prescott?
So I have a higher of opinion of Tony Romo than I think a lot of people do.
Him and Phillip Rivers, I think, get pooped on far more than they deserve. They were very good quarterbacks.
They were. Phillip liked to gun it into whatever he thought his arm could get it, put the ball wherever he wanted it to go.
That was a little bit Matthew Stafford there for a while too.
Brett Favre is the king of that, right? So, like,
because which proves that you can get into the Hall of Fame that way.
And if you believe Kyle Shanahan, if they didn't have a quarterback, if they had won the NFC Championship game, he had Phillip Rivers ready to fly to San Francisco to sign a contract to start in last year's Super Bowl against the Chiefs if they had beaten Philadelphia. But guess what? They didn't even come close to beating Philadelphia. They got
that's what happens when your running back is also your quarterback because everybody's hurt.
Your fourth string quarterback. I mean, they had to send Purdy back in the game with, like, a torn UCL. I mean, like, how is he?
They didn't have to. They could run
the ball
Wildcat.
Insane.
They could have run Wildcat.
Okay.
I mean, they were screwed either way.
The Wildcat. People talk about the Wildcat like it was some super innovative thing. The Wildcat worked in the NFL for 2 weeks, 11 years ago. And now,
like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, and now when people run it, some people run it, like, periodically for, like, a play. It's they snap it to the running back. He picks a hole. The hole gets closed. 1 yard gain, and I'm like, oh, thank God! Why are you guys still doing this?
It's because just like the Kansas City Chiefs with their ring around the rosy, just because that might have worked for one of the 2 plays that they did it on doesn't mean that, like, that's going to be a thing now.
Sure.
Everybody get in the huddle and then just run to your spots and we'll hike it right away. They won't know what to do. Okay, but I'm not sure that's going to be a theme that's going to fly with 32 teams.
Okay, so we're about ready to wrap up the show. So, Mike, you have an update for us on the Discord and the Fantasy Football League, correct?
Jesus Christ. So I was Discord is out. Oh, I need to send the link out. That's what I need to do. You'll put it in
the comment section or the show notes of this.
Show notes. Yep, we'll do that. As for fantasy football, I haven't played fantasy football in a while. I tend to work too much and don't devote enough time to keeping an eye on the waiver wire and all that kind of stuff. So I was looking at a variety of different platforms. Do you care? Do we care what platform it is? Anybody in chat that wants to be in the fantasy league? Do you care if it's a ESPN league or a Yahoo Sports league or some other fantasy football platform? Because I straight don't care what it is, and I'm not sure which ones are quote unquote the best. So throw something in the chat. We will get it going. And I'm assuming we want to do a live draft, right?
I think that's quicker and way more fun.
And we could probably even stream it.
Sure.
If we could
how to do that.
Get a group of guys, get everybody connected, videos. If you've got a computer and a camera and all that.
This is a perfect time to start, dude.
I haven't done fantasy football in forever. Like I did fantasy back before most of the websites were there. I did fantasy hockey before that was a thing online, where we actually printed out our rosters, and I used dry erase. We laminated them, and I used dry erase. And every day I would go and find out who scored and whatnot, and I would update these dry erase boards in the dorms. And it fucking sucked. It's so much better when technology just does it for you.
Yeah, you sound like a real nerd.
I was a nerd, and I'm old, so it was
before
all this stuff.
But if we can find
throw comments,
if we can find 10 people to do it, we'll do it. I just don't anymore. I play around with prop bets. Okay,
it's fair.
Well, maybe come Super Bowl, we could put some prop bets up on a board or what have you, and see who gets the most right.
Do that'd like Super Bowl squares or something too.
No squares are. That's like playing roulette. Like there's no skill involved. It's completely random. I hate it.
Yeah.
So I don't do. People ask me, and they're like, "But you love football," and I was like, "Well, give me something where my knowledge about football matters, because I just buy X squares and put them on a grid." And then
don't tell me to roll the dice, and if you get a 6, you win, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me line up where the 0 and the 3 are, and I'll play. Okay, like I'm happy to do that shit. But don't just let me buy 3 random squares and hope that by chance it works out. Like I don't want to play roulette. Like let me play fantasy football or something for money. I'll do that.
Yeah.
So at least then it's on
Survivor League. If we don't do a full FFL, we could do a Survivor League.
Sure. I'm up for that.
I'm up easier. You have to pick one game each week. That's it.
I am currently betting on the NFL preseason. The only thing I'm betting on is whether or not the Ravens win their preseason game, because they've won like 23 in a row or something. So I'm betting on the Ravens to win their preseason game and making like $6 a bet. But it might as well be free money, so I'm doing it. So, and then I'll bet during the regular season too. So, but just
all right, I will. I'll throw the link to the Discord in the show notes. And if anybody has any requests on the fantasy football, hey, let us know if you're even interested. Because if you're not interested, then we won't do it. But if you are, let's do it. Just let me know if you have a preference on the platform, and we'll get that figured out.
All right, man.
That's it.
Well, everyone, we are live on Tuesdays at 7, so like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you here next week.
All right, we'll see y'all.